Hi, this is Todd from Sniping, Rhino Ranch. Today's SOS video, we're going to talk about some pretty serious content because this week was a pretty traumatic week for us as a family. We almost lost Jess this week. So we're going to talk about what happened, what put her in the hospital, how she almost literally died right in front of me, and how she was able to get out of the hospital, and what it means for us as a family and even as a YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel isn't really important to us compared to Jessica, so I don't know what this is going to do, but that being said, if you're not a subscriber, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming homestead related videos. That being said, let's talk about what happened. So what happened that started all of this? So I was getting ready on Monday to go to a job I was doing. Required me to wear body armor, and so whenever I do something like that, Jess always puts my stuff on me, or my body armor on. It's the last thing we put on. She stood up to snap up and tighten up the right side of my vest, and I mean, she just almost passed out right there. She was very dizzy. She started having extreme chest pains and difficulty breathing, and she couldn't catch her breath. And so we had to make a decision what to do, or I did. We live pretty remote. It can be 2 to 4 hours before an ambulance can get out here and find where you are. And so I made the decision that she was still breathing, and it would be faster if I took her to the hospital. We got to the emergency room. She immediately was put to the front of the line. We knew it was serious when they continually asked her, you know, do you have a history of heart problems? Her blood pressure was elevated pretty high, and her pulse was significantly high as well. And so, you know, they stabilized her. They were able to bring her blood pressure down somewhat. It was still pretty high, and her pulse down. But bottom line, they made the decision that they needed to move her to a facility, a higher level of care. So, you know, we said our goodbyes with everything going on with the coronavirus. I couldn't go with her. An ambulance came and transported her to another hospital a couple hours away. And, you know, we said our goodbyes. When I got home, it was significantly late. The boys filmed a video, and we sent it to her.
We love you, Mom.
So that was pretty much that first day when that happened. It was early mid-afternoon when it first all happened. So the second day, I had gotten home around midnight, and around then she had gotten checked in to the hospital, and needless to say, I did not really sleep that night. I love my wife. I don't like being away from her. I don't like being able to help her or save her or whatever. And so it was hard. I'm sure it was a lot harder for her. But the following morning, everything was going well. They had put her on some medication to help regulate her heart. And so I was driving the couple hours to the hospital to visit her. There was only 2 hours a day for visiting hours. But, you know, she had a room with a window. And so I found where she was, and I parked my truck so that we were able to communicate. I could see her window. She could see me out sitting in the back of the truck, and we could talk on the phone. Well, that's not what we would have liked. It was the best we could do. And the morning was really good. Her heart stayed the same. There was no big deal. And as we were getting closer to 4 o'clock in the afternoon when visitation started, she just started going downhill. She had no appetite. She was suffering from nausea from the medication, and she started vomiting. And because she had been stable, they had moved her from an ICU, PCU room where she's monitored up to just a normal hospital room for non-emergency patients. And so she wasn't hooked up to anything. She wasn't being monitored. But she was starting to have issues and just was getting really bad. So here's me with my crazy beard up underneath my mask, waiting for visitation to start so I can see Jess. She's been in here for not quite 24 hours yet, and hopefully we'll be out of here tomorrow, but we'll see what happens. When I got up there at 4 o'clock, at that point, for about 3.5, 4 hours, she had had maybe a quarter cup of water. She hadn't eaten anything since breakfast, and she had puked like 3 times. And so when I first walked into the room, she did not look good at all. You're beautiful. You don't look so good. I have some medical training. I knew she was suffering from dehydration, which is an issue because if her heart's having trouble regulating itself, dehydration is going to cause a spike in her heart rate, which is significantly more dangerous for someone who's having this issue. So I went and talked to the nurses, the doctors. They put her on a monitor and immediately realized something was going on. They brought up a whole bunch of equipment. Thank God they did. The doctor had the foresight to ask for 3 times the number of medications to get her heart rate down. And as they were doing this, we were still waiting for the IV to be hooked up and for some of the other, for them to bring oxygen in and stuff. I kind of started filming to jokingly, you know, hey Jess, I come up and you're laying in bed with nothing, and I get here and, you know, now you have all this stuff. And as I was filming, you know, I didn't realize what the monitors were for. I'm not a nurse or a doctor. And what I hadn't realized is her heartbeat was going off the chart. And I realized she was in extreme distress and pain. So this is how Mommy is now that I'm here. They're giving her an IV and moving her back to ICU. You hurting? She started getting dizzy. She started having chest pains. I stopped filming as soon as I was noticed it. And I didn't film any of what took place after that until she was stabilized. But her heart rate increased to just over 180 beats per minute. That's 3 beats per second, and that is very, very bad. She doesn't remember most of it. I remember a team of doctors. I moved to the corner to stay out of their way. A team of doctors came in and nurses, and yeah, you know, we were not on an ICU, PCU ward, so they came from all over the hospital to save my wife's life, to get her heart back under control. And I mean, they were injecting her with medicine straight through her IV port, and they were just timing it in the bare minimum time between doses that they could give. They were giving it to her. I think it was like 4. It might have been 5 minutes. I just remember the doctor looking at his watch and go, again. And so that was pretty traumatic, almost watching my wife die. And so at the end of it all, they had her stabilized. And I had about 20 minutes of my visitation left. And she was just pretty much out of it. she wasn't unconscious, but she was sleeping. She was on oxygen, and so I just basically held her hand. And just prayed that she would be okay. And so I had to leave. They wouldn't allow me in the hospital with the restrictions in place, and so I had to leave my wife, just absolutely terrified I'd never see her again. And that was pretty tough. And yeah, that was really tough. And so they, of course, did not keep her up in that room. They moved her back down to the PCU, ICU unit. I think she was technically in a PCU room so she could be monitored. And that ended, I guess, the second day of her being in the hospital. So day number 3, of course, again, if I couldn't sleep the first night, I definitely couldn't sleep the second night. I pretty much just stayed up all night praying for her. In the morning, they put her on another medication and gave her some medicine for nausea. And so I left pretty early. They, of course, had moved her, so I had to walk around the hospital parking lot trying to figure out what room she was in. And I don't know, 6-8 hours, I sat out in the parking lot talking to her where she could see me and I could see her room. It was a little easier to see for me this than the previous room she had been in. And she was doing really well. I was a wreck. I like to think of myself as a man's man, but I cried a lot the previous 2 days, and that morning, leaving the house early to go see her, I cried just leaving the boys, but she was doing really well. The medicine was working. They had a specialist come in, heart specialist. It was actually not just a cardiologist, it was a specialized cardiologist who had to go to school for 2 years longer than a normal cardiologist, and we finally figured out what was going on and where we were going to go from there. And so they made the decision that we could be discharged. Hey, what's the word?
I have my discharge paper, so I'm checking it out.
Nice. I'm going to move around to the front then.
Alright.
I love you.
I love you.
Or she could be discharged, and about 20 minutes before my visitation would have started, they released her. Hey, good looking. Thank you for bringing her down. We're back together.
Yay.
After she was released, we came back to the house, and the boys got to see her. They had cleaned the house, did the dishes, laundry. They'd even put "Welcome Home, Mom" up on her chalkboard, so it was a pretty cool thing. So where are we going from here? To be perfectly honest, I don't know. What she was diagnosed with was atrial fibrillation caused by SVT. You're going to have to Google it. I've Googled the first part out. I'm not really sure what SVT is, but basically she was born with a heart abnormality, and for whatever reason, it caused a lot of damage to her heart. And so next week, she will go in for a minor invasive surgery / procedure where they're going to fix the abnormality from the SVT. About 3 weeks after that, she'll have to have heart surgery to repair all the damage that was caused from the SVT. And that seems pretty overwhelming for us. I'm not a doctor, so heart surgery doesn't sound like the greatest. But the pros on that is right now she's having to take a couple different meds twice a day. And if she doesn't do these surgeries, she'll have to take meds the rest of her life. What she has affects like 0.1% of people under 50 years old, which she's years younger than that. Not quite a decade, but you know. And so, you know, that is 1/10 of 1%. And normally it affects people over 60. So with the surgery, after her final surgery, she'll need to be on medications for about 3 months. But after that, she should be able to just live a normal life and not be on medications every day. There will be some life changes. You know what? You have to be alive for life changes, and we're okay with that. So what does that mean for us? I don't know. We're going to see what all this and where it all takes us, because we don't know. For our channel, I mean, we're not giving up our YouTube channel. We may do more videos talking about us going through this. We may do you know, normal videos. We may have to skip a few weeks. We may have to skip a month. I don't know. We'll let you know when we know. So thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Please leave a comment. Let us know if you've ever gone through this. Let us know what you know about it. Leave some words of encouragement, support, and prayer for Jessica and our family. Again, if you're not a subscriber, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming homestead related videos. This is Todd from Sniping Rhino Ranch. God bless all of you, and pray for Jess.